Okay, we'll call the subcommittee to order. And do we take roll call on this, Tiffany?
We can.
Sure, let's do it.
Carla Berg,
Here.
Terry Dillon,
Here.
Cindy Koza,
Here.
and Jonathan Hayes isn't here yet, but maybe will join us.
I hope so. All right, so it's what do I have? 6:03, and we'll go ahead and start the meeting.
Did everybody have a chance to review the draft annual report that I put together?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any changes, questions, revisions, something you want to see different?
Is there any way you can put that up on the screen?
Yes, I can. Hold on, I have it.
And thank you, everybody, for doing your part on this. It's much appreciated.
So Carla did the executive summary.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't see, and you know how picky I am, but I saw no grammatical errors or anything. So
Yay.
Yay, you passed the test. So just from reading it, a couple action items I see from it was that we're going to need to put on the agenda at some point to that part about discussing that the community is aware of meetings and opportunity to voice concerns and how to get that out there more.
yes.
And then the addressing the goals further in 2024. So
right. And that's a big, we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think in our upcoming meeting.
Okay.
Those goals and our bylaws.
When I went through and came up with the summary, I noticed there was a lot of things that the chief was going to follow up on, and maybe I missed it in some of the meetings if he did follow up on it, but there was things like reaching out to the deaf community and stuff that I wasn't aware of happening. But so it's just something to maybe just be aware of, that there's a lot of follow-ups, but I don't think, at least in our minutes, we're not documenting that there was anything followed up on.
Okay.
Yeah, Cindy, I saw the same thing on a couple of things too. And Tiffany was able to answer that for me when I brought them up. So maybe you can send Tiffany the list of questions that or the actions that you saw that you didn't see an answer for.
And I can
okay.
check on them. Yeah, if there's specific stuff I can check on. Some of the stuff Terry found was stuff that I think they were mainly Pictionary questions.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the chief followed up with him personally.
Yeah.
So maybe do we want to put up maybe on the agenda for our next meeting or something, that when we have follow-up items, a better way to get them to the committee or into the minutes or something, so that we always have it documented for when we need follow-ups.
And I agree with that, because just responding to Joe doesn't tell us as a committee anything, because Joe doesn't come back to us and say, oh, the chief answered this. So
well, I know in the past when there's been some that I've worked to find, and I would just email the answer out to everyone. I think those ones, because I think it seemed like conversation between Joe and the chief. So he talked to, I mean, they were legal questions about laws that were going to be passed and that sort of thing.
Right.
So I know they probably, so I guess I didn't just send it out because I didn't call the chief to say, you know.
Yeah.
One was about that lane splitting thing that
exactly
hadn't been passed.
Right.
At that time, but it was still sitting at the House. But when or the Senate, it went through the House, went to the Senate, and then the bill died because they didn't make a decision by the end of session. So it just dies when that happens.
Okay. But even when we have something like that dies out, it'd be good to just put a little note someplace so the community knows it was asked and answered, and this is what happened. So
okay, I'll try to be
it was like that committee that he was going to put together, and that I had brought up to you too, and he hasn't done anything with it at this point. So
yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that, because I know that they've talked about establishing a committee to redo the mission and goals of the department, but for some reason I don't know if it's a budget thing that they haven't went forth with that. It's kind of like low on the list.
Right.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Can I put a plug in? Because I've been looking at the bylaws.
This is in our bylaws. This is in our bylaws, Carla. This was bylaws on a different team.
I understand that, but the SPAC bylaws say that part of what we're supposed to be doing is to assist with implementation of the goals, policies, and strategies for the police department.
Yeah.
So if they're going to be looking, sorry about that. If they're going to be looking at that, maybe we should be part of that.
Yeah, and that was my understanding too. It's just they haven't put that on anybody's agenda to start. So
yeah, that was one of my questions to Tiffany. Carla, is when is this going to happen? When is this committee going to happen? Because Chief had said that they would have somebody from our team on the committee. So, and I needed to know when it was going to happen and when it was going to start and who was going to be on it. So thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a meeting with them next week about our agenda or the business from SPD for the meeting the week after. And so I will talk to him about those couple of things.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So back to the thing here.
Right.
So nothing that needs to be changed or revised in that section?
I don't think so. It's pretty much there and what we did and did not do.
Yeah.
So,
I really appreciate how succinct and like we say what we need to say with, in a very, I think it covers everything very well.
Yeah.
I'm not being succinct in my way of saying that it's being succinct. Sorry.
That last part about the policy review meeting goals as intended. At our April meeting, that's going to be one of the agenda items is a subcommittee for finding which policies we're going to review for the next year.
So part of why I bring up the bylaws is because it's my understanding that historically the policies that we've been looking at have already been implemented. And the bylaws say that we're supposed to be helping. I mean, it says that we shall assist implementation of the policies, but all the ones we've already looked at, whenever we look at them, they've already been implemented.
I think there was a few that we reviewed that George had just written and they hadn't exactly been adopted yet.
But most of them have been. So one of the questions I would like to ask at the public level is like, are we being brought in at the right phase?
And I know one of the things he's doing to wrap up the accreditation, I'm writing this down, thing is they're going through and putting together a new policy manual, basically. I think there are some policies that they're getting rid of that still exist right now that aren't necessary. I think there was one on the teddy bear program and I can't think of the other one.
When to send a telegraph?
No.
Teddy bear.
That's part of state law. So he had
I know, I'm teasing.
Yeah.
But I think like there was this whole separate section. We had a whole policy on forged and NSF checks. Well, nobody hardly writes checks anymore. So we don't really need that. And if it happens, we can figure it. We don't need a policy on it because it's just a crime and like any other crime. But so I know that they're a part of that. So I'll talk to him before we have our subcommittee meeting for the policy review to see if there's anything that he wants us to review, whether it's taking policies out or I don't think after accreditation, there isn't anything new at this point.
Did we decide last year that we were going to put our heads, the list that we did in 2023, didn't we have somebody from SPD and SPAC put their heads together to get that list?
That was George because he was the one working on the policies. So he said, I'm gonna be working on this one next, so if you could look at these. And so that's why we looked at some of the ones we did look at. I still have not heard anything about the prohibited camping ones. I don't know what's going on with that or when we can put that on our list, because my understanding is they still haven't got the language from the city attorney.
Right. I'm not sure if they've got the language down from the state too.
Right.
So.
And our policy is just basically going to follow the municipal code whenever they establish that.
Right. And I did talk to George with George about the policies and which ones that we kind of grouped together to find which ones we recommended going through.
Okay, it was a joint effort.
Yes.
That's what I thought we had decided.
That happens each year that we do that. So.
And when we form that subcommittee and get a date for that meeting, I will invite him again, since he's the most familiar with the policies at this point.
Right.
A couple of things that just come to my mind, and I'm still like learning how this committee works. But generally, like what I'm used to is like with an annual report or some kind of summary like this, there's recommendations. And I kind of wonder if sorry, I'm getting a call. If there's maybe not even on this report, but we could go back to the committee and just say, we weren't able to meet that goal that we had for 2023. Maybe like one of our recommendations would be like how to like define that goal by like more like metrics. Or like maybe even defining like the other goal is to assess the policies. Like for me, I kind of struggle assessing the policies, because are we looking for grammatical errors, or are we looking for how it's actually implemented in the community? Because I think most people don't know how it's actually implemented in the community, but like that missing person policy is absolutely not what I experienced happening in the community. Because I forget, Tiffany, how many there was like 36 COSA Care missing person reports that I filed in 2023. And like, I don't see that I think it was like 4 pages or something of that policy. That wasn't like our experience in the community, right? So like, are we assessing like if it's actually being done in the community, or like, how are we? So I think like one thing we could do is just go back to the team and say, we did this report. We have a couple of recommendations. One would be, like Carla said, to come up with a follow-up system. And then maybe it could be like, we didn't meet our goal, like let's maybe condense it a little bit or make it very specific. Like, I don't know what the team might have in mind. And then the last one, like defining what assess the policy means, because I don't know if I'm doing my part right. I didn't want to say anything at the last meeting, because I'm like, am I supposed to say that this policy isn't really what I've seen 36 times, sort of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll have to double check with Lieutenant Colley, but my understanding of the way the policies are now, they have to have certain language and certain actions for the accreditation process. So I don't know that we have a whole lot of wiggle room on what they say. And as a rule, our department members are supposed to be following those policies. So,
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, like if it's just to look for grammatical errors, like I'm happy to join the other 4 or 5 people reading for that, but I just wasn't sure, like when we use the word assess, what are we really assessing?
Well, and I think,
go ahead, Carla.
Well, I think when we, as a committee, when we look at the bylaws, at the next meeting or whenever we do that, part of the bylaws, what it says is that we shall assist with implementation of the long-range plan by providing input, evaluation, and feedback on goals, policies, and strategies. When we can define that better, which is the bylaws for our committee, then we can maybe either rewrite or define this goal that we've set for ourselves. Because this goal that we're talking about is the goal we set for ourselves based on the bylaws that the city has set for us. So that'll help us maybe define where we're at. But I like that, like, yes, we've set, we've written this report, but we need to come up with some, like, what are we going to do about it for 2024?
Right.
Do you think, not last year's annual report, but the year before that, we had the recommendations at the bottom. Do you think we maybe with this one, we can add that back in and we can add this community awareness part in there? This addressing the goals and this policy review as recommendations going forth for SPAC.
Like next steps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Next steps in discussion. I think that's what we called it.
Right. If I remember right, that is correct. Yeah, I have no problem with putting those as next steps.
Okay.
It kind of says what we're trying to do. And do you guys agree, Carla?
Yeah.
And Cindy?
Yeah. Yep.
That's good.
Okay. So
Okay.
I will add those at the bottom down here.
Yes.
Okay. And anything, okay, I think the business for the audience is pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not getting much.
And this is Jonathan business from SPD, which the font is all different. So I'm gonna have to change that.
You don't want to make it like Comic Sans?
There we go. I think I was copying and pasting and okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So does anybody have any revisions on that or you think that's fine?
Looks good.
Okay. And then the policy review. And the business from the committee.
Instead of spent time discussing, you could probably just put discussed issues.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and then you'll add the next steps.
Yeah, I'll add the next steps in discussion. I'll try to get that done tomorrow. And
Okay.
then I'll send it out to you guys. And if we can just get like an email back that this is good, then we can have it on the agenda for our meeting on April 4th.
Perfect.
4th. That work for everybody?
That
Yeah.
works.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. All
Thank
right.
you.
Anybody got anything else before we adjourn?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Actually, sorry.
That's okay.
I don't know if, because we're talking about next steps and recommendations, and one of the things that we talked about, there's no notes in it here. Well, sort of, we hint at it, but we talked about a way to get follow-ups.
Yeah, I can add that, and I have that written down here too.
Okay, do we want to add that to our report, that we want to add, put something into place so that we always have follow-ups to anything that happens in the meeting?
But it sounds like she's gonna put that under next steps, right?
Yeah, I can.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll find a way to word it so it fits in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Awesome.
All righty.
Okay, everybody agree?
Agree.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you. Well, I'll email you tomorrow and when I get this all done, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.